The black Mercedes came to a sudden stop with a loud hissing sound. Steam poured out from under the hood like a small volcano. Victoria Sterling stepped out of her car, her expensive heels clicking against the cracked pavement. She looked around, at the unfamiliar neighborhood with its small shops and old buildings. This was definitely not where she planned to spend her Tuesday afternoon. Victoria pulled out her phone and called her assistant. "My car broke down on Maple Street. Send someone immediately." She hung up and checked her watch. The repair would take at least 2 hours. Her stomach growled, reminding her that she had skipped lunch for another board meeting. Looking around, she spotted a small diner across the street. The neon sign flickered between open and ope. The building looked like it had seen better days with faded paint and windows that needed cleaning. Victoria had never eaten at a place like this before. Her usual spots were 5-star restaurants with valet parking and crystal glasses. She hesitated for a moment, then walked toward the diner. The smell of coffee and fried food hit her as she pushed open the glass door. A small bell chimed above her head. The inside was simple, but clean. Red vinyl booths lined the walls and a long counter stretched across one side. The floor was worn but spotless. "Sit anywhere you like, honey," called out a woman from behind the counter. Victoria chose a booth near the window where she could watch for the tow truck. She felt out of place in her tailored business suit among the casual diners in jeans and work clothes. As she settled into the booth, something caught her attention. In the far corner, a young woman sat with a little girl. The woman looked tired but was smiling as she gently held a spoon, helping the child eat soup. The little girl had difficulty moving her arms, and her head tilted to one side. Victoria found herself watching them. The mother spoke softly to her daughter, making funny faces that made the little girl giggle. Every bite was a team effort. The mother would guide the spoon carefully, waiting patiently when the child needed a break. There was no rush, no frustration, just pure love and patience. The little girl wore a bright yellow dress with flowers on it. Her dark hair was pulled back with colorful clips. Despite her physical challenges, her eyes sparkled with joy every time her mother made her laugh. She tried to clap her hands when she finished each bite, though her movements were slow and unsteady. Victoria noticed the mother checking her phone repeatedly. Her uniform from some cleaning company was clean, but showed signs of wear. Her shoes were the kind designed for people who stood all day. Practical but clearly old. Yet none of this seemed to matter as she focused completely on her daughter. A waitress approached their table during what must have been her break. She was a woman in her 30s, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a ponytail. Victoria watched as the waitress sat down across from the mother and daughter. "How are my 2 favorite customers today?" the waitress asked, reaching over to gently touch the little girl's hand. The child's face lit up even more. The mother's smile faltered, slightly. "We're good, Lucy, just good." But Victoria could see the worry in her eyes. The mother glanced at her phone again, then at her watch. Lucy noticed too. "What's wrong, dear? You seem stressed." The mother looked around, then leaned closer to Lucy. Victoria couldn't hear everything, but she caught bits of the conversation. Something about missing appointments, bills, and not having enough money. The little girl continued eating, unaware of her mother's worries. Lucy listened with the kind of attention that showed she really cared. She nodded and asked questions. Victoria was surprised to see the waitress reach into her apron and pull out some crumpled bills. She tried to give them to the mother, who shook her head and pushed the money back. "I can't take your tip money, Lucy. You work too hard for it." "Nonsense," Lucy said. "What good is money if we can't help each other?" Victoria had never seen anything like this. In her world, business relationships were about contracts and profit margins. Personal relationships often had ulterior motives. But here was someone giving away her hard-earned tips to help a customer she barely knew. Lucy disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a full plate of food for the mother. "Chef's special," she announced with a wink. The mother started to protest, but Lucy held up her hand. "You need to eat too. Can't take care of this sweet angel if you don't take care of yourself." Victoria realized that Lucy had probably paid for that meal herself. She watched as Lucy sat back down and started entertaining the little girl while her mother ate. Lucy folded napkins into different shapes: a flower, a bird, a butterfly. The child clapped excitedly at each creation. "Your shift ended 20 minutes ago," another waitress called out to Lucy. "I know," Lucy replied. "Just finishing up here." But she didn't leave. Instead, she helped the little girl with some simple exercises. Victoria was amazed to see Lucy gently move the child's arms and legs in what looked like physical therapy movements. She spoke encouragingly the whole time. "That's it, sweetheart, you're getting stronger every day." The mother explained that they had to miss therapy appointments because of the cost. Lucy nodded and continued the exercises she had clearly learned by watching professionals. Victoria found herself completely absorbed in this scene. She had attended charity galas that raised millions of dollars, but they felt cold compared to this simple act of kindness. Here was someone with very little giving everything she could to help someone else. The little girl grew tired, and Lucy helped position her more comfortably in the booth. She used rolled-up towels as supports, creating a cozy nest. The child's eyes began to close, and her mother stroked her hair gently. "Thank you," the mother whispered to Lucy. "I don't know what we'd do without you." "We're family here," Lucy replied simply. "That's what family does." Victoria felt something stir inside her chest. When was the last time she had felt part of a real family? Her own relationships were complicated by money and business interests. She couldn't remember the last time someone had helped her without wanting something in return. The scene before her was more powerful than any business presentation she had ever seen. It was real, honest, and beautiful in its simplicity. A waitress, who probably made minimum wage, was changing lives with her kindness. Victoria's phone buzzed with a text from her assistant. The tow truck would arrive soon. But for the first time in years, Victoria wasn't in a hurry to leave. She wanted to understand more about what she was witnessing. She had built a billion-dollar empire by being smart, tough, and sometimes ruthless. She had everything money could buy. Yet sitting in this humble diner, watching a waitress love strangers like family, Victoria realized she might have been missing something important all along. The little girl had fallen asleep, and Lucy carefully covered her with her own sweater. The mother's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. Victoria felt her own eyes getting watery, which surprised her. She couldn't remember the last time she had cried. As Lucy finally gathered her things to leave, she stopped by Victoria's table. "Sorry for the wait, honey. What can I get you?" Victoria looked up at this remarkable woman who had no idea she had just changed everything. Victoria ordered a simple coffee and watched as Lucy approached her table with a warm smile. Even after her long shift, Lucy's eyes held genuine kindness. "First time here?" she asked, pouring the coffee from a glass pot. "Yes. My car broke down, nearby," Victoria replied, still thinking about what she had just witnessed. "Well, welcome to our little family," Lucy said. "Hope your car gets fixed soon, but take your time here. No rush." As Lucy walked away, Victoria noticed her stop again at the corner table where the mother and daughter sat. The little girl had woken up and was trying to drink from her cup. Her movements were shaky and some juice spilled on the table. "Oops," the little girl said softly, looking worried. "No problem at all, sweetie," Lucy said, quickly cleaning up the spill. "Happens to everyone. Even I spill things sometimes." The mother looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Lucy, she's still learning." "Are you kidding? She's doing amazing," Lucy replied, sitting down next to the little girl. "Want to try again? I'll help." Victoria watched as Lucy patiently guided the child's hands around the cup. She spoke in a gentle voice, encouraging every small success. "That's perfect. You're getting so good at this." The mother's phone rang, and Victoria could see her face change as she answered. Her voice became tense and worried. "No, please don't cancel. She needs these sessions. I understand you need payment up front, but..." The conversation continued for several minutes. Victoria couldn't hear everything, but she could see the mother's shoulders slump with each word. When she hung up, her eyes were filled with tears. She was trying to hide from her daughter. Lucy immediately noticed. "What's wrong, honey?" The mother glanced at her daughter, who was playing with the napkin animals Lucy had made earlier. She lowered her voice. The therapy center canceled all of Elena's appointments. They said we're too far behind on payments. Lucy's face showed genuine concern. How far behind? 3 months, the mother whispered. I've been working extra shifts, but it's not enough. Elena needs those sessions. Without them, she'll lose the progress she's made. Victoria felt a knot form in her stomach. She had spent more on lunch yesterday than this family probably made in a month. She continued listening, feeling like an intruder but unable to look away. What about the insurance? Lucy asked. They only cover basic sessions. Elena needs specialized equipment and one-on-one attention. That's not covered. The mother wiped her eyes quickly. I don't know what to do. She was doing so well. Lucy looked at little Elena, who was now trying to stack the napkin creations into a tower. Her concentration was intense, and she smiled proudly when she managed to balance one on top of another.
How much do you owe them? Lucy asked quietly. $800. Might as well be $8,000 for all the chance I have of getting it. Victoria almost choked on her coffee. $800. She spent more than that on a single
business dinner. For this family, it was an impossible mountain to climb. Lucy sat quietly for a moment thinking. Then she stood up with determination. Watch Elena for a minute. I'll be right back. Victoria watched Lucy walk to the kitchen area where she spoke quietly with an older man in a chef's coat. She could see Lucy pointing toward the corner table and the man nodding seriously. Then Lucy went to the cash register and started counting money from a tip jar. The other waitress, a younger woman with red hair, approached Lucy. What are you doing? Something important, Lucy replied, continuing to count. That's the whole tip jar for today. That's everyone's money. I know. I'll pay it back. Lucy's voice was firm but kind. Lucy, you can't afford this. Your own son needs that money for his college books. Victoria felt her heart sink. Lucy wasn't just giving away her own money. She was sacrificing for her own family to help strangers. College. Books can wait a week, Lucy said simply. This little girl can't. The red-haired waitress shook her head but helped Lucy count the money. You're crazy, you know that? Maybe. But it's the good kind of crazy. Victoria watched as other staff members noticed what was happening. The cook came out of the kitchen and quietly added some bills to the pile. A busboy emptied his pockets. Even customers at nearby tables, overhearing the conversation, began contributing. What's happening? An elderly man at the counter asked. The red-haired waitress explained quietly. Without hesitation, the man pulled out his wallet. I don't have much, but here's 20. A young couple in the next booth overheard and added their money too. We've been there, the woman said. Had a baby in the hospital last year. People helped us. Now it's our turn. Victoria watched in amazement as this simple diner transformed into something magical. Strangers were becoming family, united by the desire to help a little girl they didn't even know. Lucy returned to the corner table with an envelope. She sat down across from Elena's mother and slid it over. This should cover the therapy center. The mother opened the envelope and gasped. Lucy, this is too much. I can't take this. Yes, you can, and you will. Lucy's voice was gentle but firm. This isn't charity. This is community. This is what people do for each other. But where did you get? The mother started to ask. From people who care. From people who believe. Elena deserves every chance to grow strong and happy. Elena looked up from her napkin tower and clapped her hands slowly. Pretty money, she said, pointing at the bills. Everyone laughed, and the tension broke. The mother was crying now, but these were different tears. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank us. Just help Elena get better. That's thanks enough. Lucy then did something that surprised Victoria even more. She pulled out her phone and showed the mother a video. I've been watching physical therapy videos online. I know they're not the same as professional sessions, but maybe I can help between appointments. The mother watched the video with growing amazement. You learned this for Elena? I learned things for all my kids here. That's what you do when you love someone. Lucy spent the next hour showing the mother different exercises she had memorized. She used rolled towels, empty cups, and even sugar packets to create therapy tools. Elena giggled through each exercise, treating it like a game. "Lift your arm up high like you're reaching for the stars," Lucy said, helping Elena stretch. "That's it, you're touching the moon now." Victoria felt something shift inside her chest. She had attended boardroom meetings where millions of dollars changed hands without anyone batting an eye. But here, watching people scrape together $800 for a child they barely knew, she was witnessing something infinitely more valuable. The tow truck arrived outside, honking its horn. Victoria's broken car was ready to go. But as she stood to leave, she realized something else had broken today and been repaired. Something inside herself that she hadn't even known was damaged. She walked to the counter to pay for her coffee, her mind racing with possibilities she had never considered before. Victoria couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lucy's gentle hands helping little Elena eat, heard the mother's worried voice on the phone, and felt the warmth of an entire diner coming together for a stranger. She lay in her expensive silk sheets, staring at the ceiling of her penthouse apartment, thinking about a world she never knew existed. The next morning, instead of diving into emails and stock reports like usual, Victoria found herself doing something completely different. She called her personal assistant Rebecca, who had worked with her for 5 years. "I need you to find out everything you can about 2 people," Victoria said, pacing around her office. "Discreetly. No one can know we're looking into them." Rebecca was surprised. Victoria had never asked her to investigate regular people before. "Are they business contacts?" "Something like that," Victoria replied, not wanting to explain the real reason. How could she tell anyone that a waitress and a mother with a disabled child had somehow changed her entire perspective overnight? Victoria gave Rebecca the little information she had. The waitress named Lucy, who worked at Maple Street Diner. The young mother with a daughter named Elena who needed therapy. It wasn't much to go on, but Rebecca was good at her job. 2 days later, Rebecca returned with a thick folder. "This was harder than usual," she said, sitting across from Victoria's desk. "These aren't public figures. I had to be very careful about privacy laws." Victoria opened the folder and began reading. What she discovered made her heart ache. Lucy Martinez was 36 years old and had been working at Maple Street Diner for 8 years. She was a single mother of 2 teenagers, Danny and Rosa. Her husband had died in a construction accident when the kids were young, leaving her with medical bills and a mortgage she could barely afford. She works 6 days a week at the diner, Rebecca explained. But that's not all. She cleans offices 3 nights a week and does weekend shifts at a grocery store. Her son Danny is a senior in high school with perfect grades. He wants to study medicine, but they can't afford college. Victoria kept reading. Lucy's daughter Rosa had diabetes and needed expensive medication. The family's health insurance was basic and didn't cover everything Rosa needed. Lucy often skipped her own doctor appointments to pay for Rosa's medicine. "There's more," Rebecca continued. "Every Sunday, Lucy volunteers at the Riverside Community Center. She helps teach life skills to adults with disabilities. She's been doing it for 3 years, completely unpaid." Victoria looked up from the papers. How did she learn to do that? The hard way. When her neighbor's son was diagnosed with autism, Lucy started researching online. She watched hundreds of videos, read books from the library, even took some free online courses. She taught herself everything. The folder contained copies of certificates Lucy had earned from online programs. Basic sign language, autism support strategies, physical therapy techniques for children. She had studied during her lunch breaks and late at night after her kids went to bed. "The families at the community center love her," Rebecca added. "I spoke to the director there. They said Lucy has a natural gift for connecting with people. She makes everyone feel valued and capable." Victoria felt a lump forming in her throat. While she had been building her empire and accumulating wealth, Lucy had been building something entirely different. She was creating hope in people's lives. The second part of the folder was about Elena's mother, Maria Santos. Victoria learned that Maria was 28 years old and had been widowed 2 years ago when her husband died in a car accident. The drunk driver who hit him had no insurance, leaving Maria with nothing but medical bills and funeral costs. She works nights cleaning office buildings downtown, Rebecca explained. Then she does odd jobs during the day, house cleaning, dog walking, anything she can find. Elena goes to a special daycare program while Maria works, but it's expensive. Victoria read about Elena's condition. The little girl had cerebral palsy that affected her movement and coordination. With proper therapy, she could improve significantly. Without it, she would likely lose the progress she had already made. The therapy center Elena was going to is one of the best in the city, Rebecca noted, but it costs $300 per session. Insurance only covers basic physical therapy, not the specialized treatment Elena needs. Victoria did quick math in her head. Elena needed 3 sessions per week. That was almost $4,000 per month. For Maria, working multiple minimum wage jobs, it was impossible. There's something else interesting, Rebecca said. Maria was studying to be a teacher before her husband died. She was only 6 months away from graduating. She had to drop out to work full-time and care for Elena. Victoria looked at a photo Rebecca had included, Maria's college transcript. She had been an excellent student, studying special education. She wanted to help children with disabilities. The irony wasn't lost on Victoria that Maria's own disabled daughter now couldn't get the help she needed. Over the next few days, Victoria found herself driving past the diner during different times. She never went in, but she watched from her car. She saw Lucy arriving early for her morning shift, already looking tired. She watched Maria bringing Elena in for lunch, both of them smiling despite their struggles. One evening, Victoria followed Lucy to the grocery store where she worked her third job. She watched through the window as Lucy stocked shelves and helped customers, always with the same patient kindness she had shown at the diner. "I don't understand what you're doing," Rebecca said during one of their meetings. "Are these people connected to our business somehow?" Victoria paused. How could she explain that these people had shown her something she had been missing her entire life? That watching a waitress give away her tip money had taught her more about success than all her business school classes combined. "They're teaching me something important," Victoria finally said. "I'm just not sure what yet." But she was beginning to understand. Lucy had almost nothing by society's standards, yet she was rich in ways Victoria had never considered. She had the trust of her children, the love of her community, and the satisfaction of knowing she made a real difference in people's lives. Victoria thought about her own relationships. Her family called her when they needed money or business favors. Her friends were mostly other wealthy people who attended the same charity events and private clubs. When was the last time someone had genuinely cared about her well-being without wanting something in return? She remembered Lucy's words to Elena's mother. "This is what people do for each other." In Victoria's world, people did things for each other only when there was a contract involved, a benefit to be gained, or a tax write-off to be claimed. Victoria began to realize that she had been living in a bubble of privilege that protected her from real human connection. She had money, power, and influence, but she was missing the very thing that made Lucy truly wealthy: the ability to love strangers like family. The investigation had given Victoria more than just information about 2 remarkable women. It had given her a mirror to examine her own life, and what she saw there both disturbed and excited her. For the first time in years, Victoria Sterling had found something worth investing in that couldn't be measured in dollars and cents. Victoria spent the entire week planning her return to the diner. She changed her clothes 3 times that morning, finally settling on simple jeans and a plain sweater. She didn't want to stand out. She wanted to blend in with the regular customers, who made this place feel like home. When she walked through the familiar glass door, the same little bell chimed above her head. The smell of coffee and fresh-baked pie filled the air. It was exactly 1 week since her car had broken down and changed everything. "Well, look who's back," said the red-haired waitress Victoria remembered from before. "Car troubles again?" "No, I just really liked the coffee here," Victoria replied, sliding into the same booth by the window. "That's a first," the waitress laughed. "Most folks say our coffee tastes like motor oil." But hey, whatever brings you back, Lucy will be thrilled to see you. Victoria's heart skipped a beat. Would Lucy remember her? And more importantly, would Lucy be willing to listen to what Victoria had to say? A few minutes later, Lucy appeared, with a coffee pot and that same warm smile. Hey there. Good to see you again. How's your car running? Much better, thanks. Actually, I was hoping we could talk when you have a free moment. Lucy poured the coffee and studied Victoria's face. Sure thing. Let me just check on my other tables and I'll be right back. Victoria watched Lucy move around the diner with practiced ease. She refilled coffee cups, took orders, and chatted with customers like they were old friends. At the corner table, Maria sat with little Elena, who was coloring in a book with thick crayons designed for small hands. How's our artist doing today? Lucy asked, stopping by their table. Elena held up her drawing proudly. It was mostly scribbles in bright colors, but Lucy treated it like a masterpiece. That's beautiful. Is that a rainbow? Rainbow for you? Elena said in her soft voice, offering the paper to Lucy. For me? Oh my goodness, this is going right on my refrigerator at home. Lucy's eyes sparkled with genuine joy. Victoria felt her throat tighten. This wasn't an act or a business transaction. Lucy truly cared about these people. She was invested in their happiness in a way Victoria had never experienced in her corporate world. Maria looked up from helping Elena with her coloring. The therapy center called yesterday. They said someone paid our bill in full. Do you know anything about that? Lucy's cheeks turned slightly pink. Maybe you have a secret guardian angel. Lucy, I know it was you and the others here. I don't know how to repay such kindness. You don't repay kindness, Lucy said gently. You pass it forward when you can. That's how the world gets better. Victoria watched this exchange and felt something shift inside her chest. She had been thinking about this moment all week, but now she wasn't sure how to begin. How do you approach someone with an offer that will change their entire life? After Lucy finished her rounds, she returned to Victoria's table with 2 cups of coffee. Mind if I sit? My feet are killing me. Please, Victoria said, gesturing to the seat across from her. Lucy settled in with a small sigh of relief. So, what brings you back to our little corner of the world? And don't say it's the coffee because I know better. Victoria took a deep breath. I need to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. If money wasn't an issue, if you could do anything with your life, what would it be? Lucy laughed and stirred sugar into her coffee. That's a dangerous question. You might not like my answer. Try me. Lucy's expression grew serious as she looked around the diner. I'd create a place where families like Maria's could get real help. Not just charity handouts, but real support. A place where kids like Elena could get therapy and education, where parents could learn how to help their children, where nobody felt alone or hopeless. Victoria leaned forward. Tell me more. Well, Lucy continued, her eyes lighting up with enthusiasm. I'd want therapists and teachers, but also regular people who understand what these families go through. I'd have support groups for parents, play areas designed for kids with different abilities, maybe even job training for parents who had to give up their careers. What else? Oh, I'm just dreaming now, Lucy said with a wave of her hand. But maybe a place where the whole family could come, where Elena's mom could take classes to finish her teaching degree while Elena got therapy, where siblings could play and not feel left out, where everyone could just be normal for a while. Victoria felt goosebumps rise on her arms. That sounds amazing. What would stop you from doing something like that? Lucy laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. Reality, money, education. I'm a waitress with a high school diploma. I don't have the qualifications to run something like that. What if you could get those qualifications? With what time? With what money? I work 3 jobs just to keep my kids fed and healthy. I can't exactly take 4 years off to go to college. Victoria reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. She placed it face down on the table between them. What if I told you that someone was looking for exactly the kind of person you just described? Someone with your heart, your experience, your natural ability to connect with people? Lucy picked up the card and flipped it over. Her face went completely white. Victoria Sterling, CEO, Sterling Technologies. She looked up at Victoria with wide eyes. You're Victoria Sterling. I am the Victoria Sterling, the billionaire tech lady who's always on magazine covers? Victoria nodded, feeling nervous for the first time in years. And you're Lucy Martinez, the woman who gives away her tip money to help strangers and teaches herself physical therapy from YouTube videos. Lucy stared at the business card like it might disappear. I don't understand. What could you possibly want with me? I want to offer you a job, director of the Sterling Foundation for Exceptional Families. It's a new foundation I'm creating and I need someone to run it. Someone who understands what these families really need. Lucy shook her head. You're joking. This is some kind of mistake. No mistake. Full salary, health benefits for your whole family, and full tuition to get whatever education you need to do the job properly. Plus a budget to create exactly the kind of place you just described. I can't. This doesn't happen to people like me. Victoria reached across and gently touched Lucy's hand. It's happening to you. Right now. The question is, will you say yes? Lucy looked over at Maria and Elena, then back at Victoria. Why me? You could hire anyone, people with degrees and fancy credentials. Because I've seen how you love people. I've watched you sacrifice for strangers. I've learned about how you teach yourself new skills just to help others. You can't buy that kind of heart, Lucy. You can't teach it in any school. Tears started forming in Lucy's eyes. My kids, Danny's college, Rosa's medicine, all taken care of. Danny gets a full scholarship to any medical school he wants. Rosa gets the best health care available, and you get to do what you were born to do, help families like Elena's. Lucy was crying now, not bothering to wipe away the tears. I watched you that day. I saw how you were watching us. I thought you might be judging us. I was. But not the way you think. I was judging my own life against what I saw in yours. And I realized I was missing everything that really matters. Elena's voice piped up from across the diner. Lucy crying? Both women turned to see the little girl looking concerned. Maria was looking over too, worry on her face. Lucy wiped her eyes and called back, Happy tears, sweetheart. Very happy tears. She turned back to Victoria. When would I start? Whenever you're ready. Take time to think about it. Talk to your kids. Lucy looked at the business card again, then at Victoria. I don't need time. I've been getting ready for this my whole life. I just didn't know it. Victoria felt tears in her own eyes now. So that's a yes? That's the biggest yes of my life. 3 months later, Victoria stood in the parking lot of what used to be an old department store. The building was buzzing with construction workers, painters, and designers. A large sign being installed read, Sterling Family Support Center. She smiled as she watched Lucy directing the workers with confidence that had grown stronger every day. The therapy rooms need more natural light, Lucy was telling an architect. Kids with disabilities often do better when they can see outside, see trees and sky. It gives them hope. Victoria marveled at how much Lucy had changed. She still had the same kind heart, but now she carried herself with the authority of someone who knew she belonged exactly where she was. The waitress uniform had been replaced with comfortable clothes that allowed her to get down on the floor with children, yet still look professional in meetings with doctors and therapists. Mrs. Sterling, a young voice called out. Victoria turned to see Elena running toward her, moving much more smoothly than she had 3 months ago. Her therapy sessions were working wonders. Elena, look at you go. Victoria knelt down as the little girl reached her with only a slight stumble. I can run now, Elena announced proudly. Want to see? Before Victoria could answer, Elena took off across the lobby area. Her movement still unsteady but filled with determination. Maria appeared, beaming with pride and joy. She's made incredible progress, Maria said, her voice thick with emotion. The doctors say she might even be able to attend regular school next year, with just some extra support. Victoria felt that familiar warm feeling in her chest. How are you doing with your studies? Maria's face lit up even brighter. I finished my teaching degree last week. Lucy helped me figure out how to take night classes while Elena was in therapy during the day. Next month, I start my master's program in special education. And the job here? I love it. Helping other families navigate what we went through. It feels like I'm turning our struggle into something meaningful. Every day, I meet parents who are where I was 6 months ago. Scared, broke, and hopeless. Now I can tell them it gets better. Victoria watched Elena playing with building blocks in a corner designed specifically for children with motor skill challenges. The blocks were larger, easier to grip, and made satisfying sounds when stacked. Everything in this center had been designed with Lucy's input, based on her years of observation and instinct about what children and families really needed. Danny, Lucy's son, came through the front door wearing scrubs from his job at the nearby hospital. At 19, he was already working as a medical assistant while studying pre-med at the university. His grades were even better now that he could focus on learning instead of worrying about money. "Hey, Mom," he called to Lucy. "The pediatric ward wants to know if we can bring some of the kids over for visits. They think it would help the hospitalized children see what's possible." Lucy's eyes sparkled. "That's a wonderful idea. We'll set up a schedule." Victoria remembered Lucy's initial fear that she wasn't qualified for this job. Now Lucy was collaborating with hospitals, universities, and government agencies. Her natural wisdom, combined with the formal education Victoria had provided, made her uniquely effective. Rosa, Lucy's daughter, was curled up in a reading nook doing homework. Her diabetes was perfectly controlled now with the best medical care available, and she had grown into a confident teenager who volunteered at the center after school, helping younger children with their reading. "How many families are we serving now?" Victoria asked Lucy as they walked through the main activity area. 43 families directly, but we're reaching hundreds more through our outreach programs, Lucy replied. The parent support groups have been especially popular. Turns out people just needed to know they weren't alone. They passed a group therapy session where parents sat in a circle sharing their experiences. Victoria could hear fragments of conversation, discussions about insurance battles, small victories in their children's development, and the relief of finding people who understood their daily challenges. In the therapy wing, Elena was working with a physical therapist on a colorful mat. Her movements were deliberate and focused. The therapist was using techniques similar to what Lucy had taught herself, but with professional equipment and expertise. "Look, Miss Victoria," Elena called out, "I can touch my toes." The movement was slow and required effort, but Elena managed. The therapist cheered and Elena giggled with pride. Victoria felt tears spring to her eyes, remembering the little girl who had struggled to hold a spoon just months earlier. "We're getting requests from other cities," Lucy told Victoria as they continued their tour. "People want to replicate what we're doing here. I never imagined it would grow this fast." Victoria had imagined it, though. She had seen the hunger in communities for exactly this kind of support. The center had a waiting list of families wanting services, and inquiries were coming in from across the country. They entered Lucy's office, which was decorated with children's artwork and photos of families they had helped. On the wall hung Elena's first drawing, the rainbow she had colored for Lucy at the diner. It was framed like a masterpiece. "I got a call today from the mayor's office," Lucy said, sitting behind her desk with natural authority. "They want to fund 3 more centers like this one. They're calling it the Lucy Martinez model." Victoria laughed. "How does it feel to have a social service model named after you?" "Terrifying and amazing at the same time," Lucy admitted. "Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life. 6 months ago, I was worried about paying rent. Now I'm speaking at conferences and designing programs that might help thousands of children. You know what the most beautiful part is?" Victoria said. "You're still exactly the same person you were in the diner. You just have better tools now." Through the office window, they could see Maria leading a tour for new families. She was explaining the different services available, her own experience evident in every word. The families hung on her every word, recognizing someone who had walked their path. "I need to tell you something," Victoria said, settling into a chair across from Lucy's desk. "When I first started this foundation, I thought I was helping you. and Maria and Elena, but you've changed my life more than I could ever change yours. Lucy looked surprised. How so? I spent 30 years building a company, accumulating wealth and climbing social ladders. But I was empty inside. I had no real relationships, no sense of purpose beyond making more money. Watching you give away your tip money taught me what real success looks like. And what's that? Making other people's lives better. Seeing Elena run, watching Danny thrive in medical school, knowing that Maria is helping other families. This is the first time I've felt truly wealthy. Lucy smiled. Funny thing is, I feel the same way. I always thought being rich meant having enough money to stop worrying. Turns out it means having enough purpose to stop caring about money. A knock on the door interrupted their conversation. A young father stood there holding the hand of a little boy with Down syndrome. "Excuse me," he said nervously. "We're new here. Someone told us to ask for Lucy." Lucy stood immediately, her face lighting up with that familiar warmth Victoria had first seen in the diner. "Of course. Come in, both of you. Let's sit down and talk about how we can help." As Lucy knelt down to the little boy's level and began talking to him about his favorite toys, Victoria quietly slipped out of the office. She had seen this scene dozens of times now, but it never got old. Every new family represented another chance for Lucy to work her magic, to turn fear into hope. Victoria walked to her car, thinking about the board meeting she had that afternoon. The quarterly reports, stock prices, and merger discussions that used to consume her thoughts now felt like just one part of a much larger life. The foundation had become her real work, and Lucy had become her greatest teacher. The broken-down car that had brought her to Maple Street Diner had led to the best investment she had ever made. Not in stocks or real estate, but in the power of human kindness to change the world, one family at a time.